the documentary could be used to help educate decision makers who really don't realize how threatened and endangered this animal is in our local preserves, and don't realize what a big deal it is to people who are interested in burrowing owl conservation.
Younger people are becoming more and more distant from that, and so we're really interested in finding ways for young people to get out into the natural world and experience it. And if it's right at your footstep, like the burrowing owl often is in Santa Clara County, it's something that we can really capitalize on. So I think it's a benefit for that reason. So
there needs to be a point where the degradation of the habitat stops, and I think Santa Clara Audubon is addressing that. And they're the envy of all the Audubon societies in California because they have taken such a proactive approach towards working with government. And
it's sad to see the loss of habitat, but then developers and burrowing owls like the same real estate, a nice flat area with a view of the bay.
We do have some owls out there. We're hoping that they'll breed. These owls actually came from one side of the property that was on the development part, so they evicted them out, and now they found the new habitat. So we're very, very happy about that. So,
well, the fact that they're down there now is because right now there's extensive agriculture, but there's the same urban pressure in those areas as there are now. And we certainly don't want burrowing owls to be in only two parts of the state. The more diverse areas that they are, the more chance that they will survive.
We need a sanctuary.
I think it's important at this time and in the place of Santa Clara County that we consider the owl a natural resource that needs to be preserved. Just as we have historical places and parks in San Jose and Santa Clara County that are important to us and we preserve them, the owl is part of our natural history, and we need to have a place where they are preserved and where they can continue
Owls are
thriving.
pretty unique in that certain populations are able to live pretty close to human populations, like down in the Imperial Valley. You can approach one within 10 feet and they don't even get startled, but that's kind of a unique population down there. So I definitely think that we can live side by these animals, but definitely have to preserve their homes and their habitats and make sure that people aren't just willy-nilly, running over them with their tractors and bulldozing over their homes. And
valuable burrowing owl management plan on Shoreline Park, but even there are pressures. Recently a city master plan that advocates playing field development that may or may not impact the general viability of that population.
I think the master plan should really look into the future and preserve the scarcest of our resources, which is open and natural landscapes. This is becoming very rare around the bay, and I think when we're looking at different resources and how we can use them, we need to take a long view and say, what are we really losing, and preserve those.
I think it's important to use the documentary to educate anyone who is not that familiar with Cooper's owl.
But owls have had millennia to figure out what good habitat is for them. And the places they've chosen, they have been, since owls have very excellent site fidelity, the same pair will go back to the same location to nest in subsequent years, and the young will come back to the site. So eliminating this site is basically destroying the habitat forever.
We started this project 2 months ago, and believe it or not, prior to that time, I had never even seen a burrowing owl. Now I have owl fever. We go out every weekend to the locations where the owls live. We find them and we film them and their habitats. I've become an owl advocate. After all, these precious little creatures can't advocate for themselves. We humans have to take on the task of promoting their preservation.
And I love the owls. Every time I come out and that little bird cocks its head and looks at me with those big yellow eyes, my heart would just melt.
One of the great things about burrowing owls is that they line their burrows with their dung. So there's a real great synergy between a burrowing owl and a wastewater treatment plant. We're really all in the same business. So it's a really great opportunity here at the plant. Really wonderful stuff with the owl.
Well, the burrowing owl used to have a very large habitat, but with all the development, most of the habitat's been destroyed, and there's very little habitat left for these creatures. And you know, as each little piece of land gets developed for whatever use, whether it's for a golf course or a soccer field, it's no longer habitat for the owls. And there needs to be an area to maintain the population so people can enjoy them, and they also contribute to the diversity of the wildlife in the area and help maintain a balance.
And I just wanted to let you guys know that we're so lucky that we have them here in Mountain View. I used to live in Sunnyvale over by Mission College, and just about the time I moved, I got to see complete destruction of them so that they could put in a strip mall. So I am hoping to God that that just doesn't happen here in Mountain View. And if you like the burrowing owl as much as me, you'll help save them.
We need a sanctuary.
To educate people who know a little bit about burrowing owls, but not the whole story. I think we want it to be used to inspire people who are interested in saving burrowing owls, conserving landscapes for burrowing owls, to inspire them to stay engaged in the process, to write letters, to show up at meetings.
There are a lot of competing interests, so there's no clear-cut answer of we should do this or we shouldn't do that. But we do know that societies ultimately are judged by how they respond to the weakest and most vulnerable members of its society. And the burrowing owl has been pushed to the limits of extinction here in the Santa Clara Basin. And as one of the last places where these owls are found, I believe we do have an obligation to protect the owl and to make sure that it has a home here for the future.